So we're delighted to be here. As you said, my name is Joyce. I'm Advocacy Officer with the Alzheimer Society of Ireland, and I'm co-presenting today with Creagan, who's a member of the committee of the group I'm about to tell you about. So we're both delighted to be here, and thanks to Carolines Ireland for inviting us. So to start, I'll just tell you a bit about our group. It's called the Dementia Carers Campaign Network, or DCCN as we call it for short, and that's the acronym I'll be using just to save time. So the DCCN is a national campaigning group. It was formed in 2013 and is facilitated by the Alzheimer Society of Ireland, and it's made up of people who have experience caring for a loved one with dementia and who are passionate about advocacy and bringing about policy change. So currently the group has 33 members across Ireland with a wide range of experiences and backgrounds. And as I said, Ray is one of the members of the committee of the group, and we have 5 members on that committee, and they take responsibility for driving the work of the group forward. So the group is very active, and members are involved in numerous projects and working groups. Importantly, the group is involved in monitoring the implementation of the National Dementia Strategy, and members are also very involved in public awareness work, which they do by speaking at conferences such as this one, and by lobbying government officials and other senior officials, and by speaking to the media about their personal experience of caring. And one thing that the group does, and as you can see here, this is our members. You see Ray up on the top left there, and other members in action doing their advocacy work. One of the things that the group does in order to raise awareness and to reach out to other carers is to run its own advocacy campaign each year. So in 2015 we ran the first DCCN campaign, and that was called The Impact of Caring, and it involved 6 carers sharing their personal experience of caring for a loved one with dementia, and the whole focus of that was to raise awareness of how caring can impact on an individual and on their lives. And last year they ran a campaign called Walk in Our Footprints, a Dementia Carers Journey. And that campaign focused on the needs and experiences of carers at different stages of the dementia journey. So if you're interested in learning more about that work, or in reading any of those campaign materials, they're all available on the Alzheimer Society website, so please take a look. So in addition to all these kind of activities that the group takes part in, members are fully supportive and engaged in dementia research. And over the past few years, members have been involved in research on a wide range of issues, including driving and cognitive impairment, nutrition and dementia, and the health and well-being of dementia carers. But that's just to name a few of the projects they've been involved in. So today we're going to reflect on the experience of DCCN members who have engaged in research to talk to you about 3 specific issues. First of all, engaging dementia carers in research, so the do's and don'ts. We're going to talk about ways we think that researchers can fully support dementia carers to get involved in their work, and also highlight some potential pitfalls that researchers may need to be aware of. We'll then talk about the challenges that exist for carers in getting involved in research work, and finally look at the benefits of engaging carers in research, both for the carers themselves and for the research team. So we believe there's a number of things that researchers can do to fully support DCCN members and other carers to get involved in their work. And they might seem quite simplistic, but I hope they'll be helpful to researchers here today. And just to highlight, these are experiences that members of our group have had. So some of it may be quite obvious, but hopefully it's still helpful. So the first thing that we would recommend is that any researchers approaching us would share clear participation criteria from the outset. So the DCCN as an advocacy group gets a lot of requests to get involved in research projects, whether it's by completing a survey, taking part in a focus group, or getting involved in a research project on a longer term basis. And it's really important that we're given clear participation criteria from the outset. So as a researcher, you most likely know the gender, the location, the background and experience of the carers that you're looking for. And it's really important that we would have that information at the start so that we can approach the most appropriate DCCN member to get involved. We do have a form that we ask researchers to complete, and that helps us in determining which research projects the group can get involved in. The second thing then we'd recommend is to think about involving carers from the start. So it's important that carer participation is planned from the beginning of the project or as soon as possible, and that carers aren't approached to get involved at a very late stage of the project as an afterthought or in a tokenistic way. And in our experience, this does happen, that carers are involved from the start, but on a number of occasions, DCCM members have been approached in an advanced stage of research, and it's really just a missed opportunity in terms of how carers can participate in your work. If you involve carers from the very beginning in the planning stage of the project, they may be able to advise on important issues such as the themes worth investigating, the data collection processes you might use, and any potential ethical issues in involving carers. So those are just some things to maybe think about when you're planning projects. Next then is to provide accessible and timely information. So as soon as the DCCN as a group has identified a potential participant for a research project, it's important that that person will be given access to accessible information about the research so that they can decide whether they want to participate or not. And again, that's an experience that we've had on one or two occasions where potential participants have been waiting quite a while to get information about the research, or where practical information hasn't been made available at the outset, and so therefore it's very hard for them to decide whether they want to get involved or whether they're in a position to get involved. So we would recommend that that information is made available as soon as possible after initial contact is made. It should also set out very clearly the commitment that you would expect from the research participants and what support they can expect in return from the research team. And all of that will help DCCM members in determining whether they can and will get involved. Next then, and this is something that in our experience most researchers do anyway, is to explain the context and purpose of the research, but that's really important in allowing carers to fully understand what they will be contributing to. So it's just really important to set out, especially in the context of a focus group, to set out clearly what's the aim of your research, why you're undertaking it, what exactly you want the participants to contribute and to achieve. And again, it just keeps discussions on track and it just makes it clear for the carers taking part. We'd recommend then, and this is something that I'm sometimes guilty of not doing myself, circulating notes and documents well in advance of meetings, and I think everyone falls down on that sometimes. But we would ask in general that DCM members taking part in focus groups or in research working groups, that they would, where possible, get any notes or documents at least a week in advance of any meetings. And I know from our own experience in organising focus groups and meetings with carers that it's really important in allowing people to adequately prepare, to keep them up to date on the research or the work that you're doing, but also so that they can fully contribute to the issues being discussed. And I think Ray might mention that a bit about how, these projects and research isn't always on the top of your agenda as a carer, so we need to take responsibility when we're working with carers to keep them up to date. And then lastly in this list, where possible, we believe carers should be given an opportunity to review their contributions. So we know that many contributions in research will be made anonymously, so that might not be necessary. But if you are attaching people's full name to quotes, or if they're in any other way identified within the research, we believe people should be given an opportunity to review their contribution before any publication of the research findings. And that's the approach that we take in our own work with carers. We would always give people an opportunity to review quotes before we publish anything. And we find it's really important in building trust with carers and in making sure that people are satisfied with the engagement they've had with the project. Then next I'd just like to talk briefly, these are kind of more do's as well, but also potential pitfalls that we've identified that researchers should probably keep in mind when working with dementia carers. The first thing to remember is to keep an open mind. So again, most experienced researchers will of course do this, but it can happen that if a researcher has a set agenda or a very particular idea of something, they may risk steering participants in a certain direction. And one or two members of our group have described those experiences where they felt that a researcher wasn't really hearing what they were saying, or where they felt the researcher wanted particular answers from them and was kind of trying to steer them towards that. So that's just a potential pitfall that we all need to be aware of. The next thing is about keeping meetings and discussions very focused. So if you're involving carers in a focus group or a research working group, it really takes very careful participation. We know from our own experience that for many carers, it may be the first opportunity that they've had to share their experience. So they might need time to fully speak about their experience, to share their story. And they might also need space to vent any frustrations that they have. So as I said, we organise a lot of focus groups and meetings, and we know how important it is to acknowledge that and to allow space for it. but also to ensure that while the group might be supportive, that it maintains its focus and that it doesn't veer into more of a support group than a working group. So that's something we've learnt in our experience working with carers. Where possible then, it's important to remember to involve carers with different experiences, and obviously this depends on the research project. You may be very focused on a particular type of caring, but if not, we find it's really beneficial to involve carers with different experiences, so people who've cared for a spouse, for a sibling, for a parent, carers living in different parts of the country, because as most people know, carers in urban areas may have very different experience to carers in rural areas. And then also involving carers at different points in their caring journey, as their perspective can really change with dementia as it's a progressive illness. So where possible, it's important to involve people with all those experiences, and that's something I know the DCCN has found in its work, that involving people with more backgrounds and experiences means that we're adequately representing the needs and the experience of all dementia carers. Next then, DCM members have asked that the person they care or have cared for would be remembered in research. So some people have described how it can feel that the person they care for is somehow forgotten a bit in the whole research project, and that can make it feel quite impersonal to them. And so where possible, even if the research is focused on the needs of carers, it means a lot to people if the person they love and care for can be somehow acknowledged or recognised during the research project. And then finally, don't forget to share your results, and this is something again that we have experienced on one or two occasions where DCM members have taken part in research projects but haven't been notified of the research outcomes, haven't been informed of any subsequent publications. And it's just really important again that that carers will see the output of their contribution and that they will feel valued and fully involved in the research until the very end. So I'm now going to hand you over to my colleague Ray Creagan. As I said, Ray is a member of our committee and he has experience caring for his dad, Paddy, who had dementia. He's going to talk to you about challenges and benefits. There you go.
Thanks, Joanna. Good afternoon, folks. I looked after my father, Paddy, for 7-8 years, and this November he'll be 2 years dead. So I'm out the other side, but big experience, start to finish. And the nature of his dementia was vascular. It presents its own challenges. So with that in mind, let's talk about this. Challenges for engaging carers in research. With time and focus, location, language and jargon, health needs of carers and changes in their caring role. Okay, time and focus. The nature of caring is that it's pretty much full on, and your opportunities to get away from your obligation are very limited. Can you come and visit us? Can we do this over Skype or something else? You know, yes, meetings and group encounters are very beneficial to us because it engenders a sense of camaraderie and shared experience. We're very keen to get involved, and because of the nature of this, you could find that people in urban areas are your most attractive candidates, but how do we involve people in rural isolation? You know, they have a very different experience. Services work quite well in large urban areas, even though they get a lot of grief, but you can access service. And what are the people in isolated areas doing, and how do we get them involved and get a perspective on their existence? Language and jargon. Yeah, 3-letter acronyms, and we're 4-letter acronym. It's an awful mouthful. Dementia Campaign Carers Network. PWD, person with dementia. I'm probably an LPWD, likely person with dementia. Yeah, please be careful with that stuff. We're not medically qualified. I never wanted to know anything about any of this stuff. Never ever wanted to know anything. I never wanted to be involved in it. But you end up having to educate yourselves. Yeah, and just be careful. And then there's the health needs. Yeah, we're busy. We're so busy looking after the person. We're looking after that her own health needs can come very secondary. The unfortunate thing is that if the show goes down on our front, most of the show goes down. So how do we keep that going? The nature of a carer is that they will always put the person they're looking after first. Yes, I can't. I know I can do this still. Camaraderie, getting out there, shared experiences. Unfortunately for a carer, the world gets smaller as the world for the person they're caring for gets smaller. My father's condition stole everything from him bit by bit by bit. By the time prior to his death, he was just, to all intents and purposes, a piece of furniture. He was there, staring into space. So, and you're just there minding that. You've no reason to go out or anything, and you've no reason to bring him to a day centre or to meet people. So, that's it. And change of role, yeah. Alzheimer's has a creeping effect. Fortunately, vascular dementia, it's a roller coaster ride. You're functioning at a level, you have a TIA event, and you drop off, you're suddenly down here, and you're scrambling around for 24 hours trying to figure out where you are. And all these things can then factor into whether or not we can participate effectively in your program. It changes very quickly. It's not always predictable. So, for the family carers, we can make a valuable contribution. If there's carers here looking to be involved in something, yes, you have wonderful experience. You can tell people what it's like. It helps address the isolation. Yes, you get out from where you are, you meet other people, and there's the shared experience, and you're able to compare notes. A lot of the previous presentations would have said information. I'm involved in a project at the moment. One of the things we looked at was HSE National Understand Together website. There's loads of information. That's a very nice website. But then you get out into the HSE website, which is vast. And getting backwards and forwards and figure out where you're. I'm pretty tech savvy. I found myself lost. So which bloody website am I in now? And the nature of a lot of carers is that, especially dementia, most of them are not very tech savvy. The web is not their tool of choice. So, increased knowledge. By the carer getting involved in a research project, you can increase your own knowledge. You can meet people, and you have a chance to talk about things. One of the things I found was that I was not particularly interested in reading booklets. They were all sort of manuals on misery, as far as I was concerned. This is going to be bad. I don't really need to read about it. Shared experiences and talking to people, it's so much easier. You see people starting out, and their loved one is in good nick at the moment, and we're kind of optimistic it's going to be okay. We'll cope. We've got our friends around us, we've got our family, there's a good crew of us. Time moves on, conditions change, might be slowly, it might be abruptly. Who knows? And all of a sudden you're fighting, you're struggling to get a handle on things, and where booklets are not what you want. I want to talk to somebody, please help me. What's your experience here? What was your experience here? Anyone got any ideas on this? Unfortunately, a lot of our service, which is very good, is reactive. It's not proactive. It doesn't anticipate problems. And there's a bit on our side that we don't prepare for bad news. It's always going to be great. Well, certainly my mother's case, she never wanted to realise that things could get worse. We're always going to turn the corner. It hasn't been bad for a while. Now maybe it'll start improving. It's going to get worse in another while. So yeah, I'm rambling. Okay. There's great value to be made, to be had by involving carers in your research, because you're getting the genuine lived experience. That's very obvious. You should make sure you get as wide-ranging a representation as possible. Ex-carers, carers near the end of their experience, carers starting off. And yes, I can say dementia, but having looked at the two previous presentations, it's an awful lot of common ground. It's not unique to people suffering with dementia or caring for a person suffering with dementia. I'm not sure if I'd make that warrior mother, but ensuring your research is relevant. I did a research project when my father was still alive. It was a lovely technology one. And it was really very thoughtful. It had reminiscences section in it, it had a communication section in it. And the hardware was a tad expensive, but all that stuff has become cheap. Anyway, the long and short of it is, I don't know whatever happened to it. It was charming, though. It was a really nice project. And, it was, we can help you prioritise your research topics. Oh, I've rambled on enough, folks. Sorry. Does anyone like to ask me any questions? Yes. I'm Ray. Raymond, my mother.
You're saying from the human side, everything you're saying is very valuable, your contribution is very valuable, because you're sharing the human side.
Yeah.
I want to commend everybody. This lady did a fantastic job as well. Very humanely. Everybody's doing it. You did the better job too, but you're giving humanity. And if it's not rude to ask, Craig, how long did your journey last with the father?
7, 8 years. Oh, it was like a fur-lined mousetrap. It started off, and career-wise, things were slipping, and this situation was developing, and slowly but surely, I found myself a carer. I wasn't sure how this happened, but I was in. That's it. Job, kind of coincided with the economy crashing. So a lot of things just come together, and your father is developing, starting to exhibit this odd behaviour. I kind of knew that we had to get the car keys off him when I saw him arrive home in the car one afternoon with hand signals. I said, oh dear. Yeah, he was of a certain age, and those were perfectly acceptable. And yes, he did argue coherently that they were within the rules of the road and that everybody should be aware of it. But no, we're not doing that.
You were saying about the technology piece you were given about the communication and whatever, and I think what you were trying to say was it didn't mean anything to you.
Oh, no, it was lovely. It was a wonderful, wonderful project. There was, for the people in rural locations, if they had decent broadband, this was fantastic. Tablet, old pictures, newsreels from years gone by, help with the reminiscences thing. It was all packaged in a lovely framework. It was bringing together Skype, email, a load of things for people who are not particularly tech savvy to use. You know, it was not quite a daycare centre at home, but it was very nicely packaged. All these things were out there. It was just putting a bow around it and bringing it together as, you know, I want to do that today. You know, I thought it was a nice project. And it was very thoughtful. A lot of thought went into it. Where the money went, I don't know. I was just curious. Katie, time will tell. Maybe you'll show up again. Anything else? Yes.
Yeah, great. You said something really interesting earlier. You said you didn't want to read a lot of these booklets because it's going to be misery. You know.
Oh yeah, it is.
I'm just thinking in terms of, you know, prioritizing research agenda and so on. You know, we heard a lot about burden. You know, we heard a lot about sort of negative things. And this morning we started out with resilience, maybe something that slightly has a more shifts, you know, the attention towards the more positive, you know, there's things that can make you feel better, you know, can support you or can be more positive, you know. And in your experience with, you know, various projects that you've been involved in, you know, do we need to shift a little bit towards the positive side? Do we need to shift?
There's the whole resilience thing. There is anytime you meet my friends when my Paddy was alive, you would be very asked, how's Paddy? You know, how are things at home? How's the struggle going? You know, soldier comes back from the front. How's it going at the front? You know, it was very little. How are you? You know, how are you? You know, people become invisible. Carers can become kind of invisible. They're doing a good job. You're a great person, and you know you're the best in the world, and we can always rely on you. But kind of invisible as well. Who you are and what your needs are. You know, it is very important that there are other models out there, and it can be simple things. You know, for the guys, it can be getting them involved in a men's shed, keeping them in a football team, throwing darts, snooker, cinema, whatever. You know, it's finding time, resources. Some of it's not require huge resources.
It's stuff that gets you away.
Gets you away from the reality.
Dementia, yeah.
You know, headspace, your own headspace. Even involved in education. You know, taking a course.
Yeah.
But the more you meet people, the better. You know, that there's a chance to just talk and share a laugh. Yeah. Anything else, folks?